What's going on, everybody? It's Neil from 2AF. It's time for another gun history / gun story video. Just this past Sunday, we had our Florida Defensive Carbine Club match. That's a match that I've been involved with since the early 2000s. So we've been going on 24 years now, but we shoot the last Sunday of every month. And I just shot this gun, and there was a handful of questions when some pictures and videos were starting to get around. So we'll talk about this gun today. This is a, kind of a traditional M4A1 Block 2 gun. Really, it's not very clone correct. It doesn't use a lot of clone correct parts, but it certainly has the silhouette and the look of the gun, which is kind of what I really like most anyway. So we'll start with the lower. This lower is, I talked about one of these. I have another one. I talked about it in a previous gun history video. It's a Bravo Company lower. So let's see if you can see that. It's got their old logo on it. So it's the old logo, but kind of the interesting thing about it is that it has this iron bond brown finish to it. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the same finish that you can get on their flat dark earth bolt carrier groups that say iron bonded. Back in maybe 2010 or maybe slightly prior to that, BCM kind of experimented with doing some receivers in that color. I wound up getting one of those, but I don't think they ever sold them. So in any case, this is one of those brown iron bonded lowers. It's not Cerakote, it's not anodized, but it does have that brown finish that matches the rail pretty well. We do use the Daniel Defense Riz 2 rail here. There's nothing special about that. I can kind of date this gun by the date on the rail. The rail's marked October 2010, so that's probably right about the time that I built this whole gun. The upper is made by Spikes Tactical. In this same kind of 2010 time frame, Spikes Tactical built full guns that use this color as an option. You couldn't buy the receivers by themselves, so it was hard for me to come by this upper. But a guy came in and he was just trying to sell, he had the full gun and he was just trying to sell the upper. And I said, well, hey, do you mind, before I sell the upper, can I trade you for a brand new upper that's black, and then sell his Spikes upper like that? And he said he didn't care. So that's what we did. I traded him the upper, and I wound up getting this. Now, the match isn't perfect. The upper is maybe a little bit more greenish brown, and then the rail is a little, of course, brown, and then the lower is pretty brown too, but a little different shade than the rail. So there's a lot of different colors on here, but I think it came together pretty well. I liked it. Also, I put this gun together after the first time I saw a picture of a M4A1 Block 2, and coincidentally, the picture that I saw, the gun had an ACOG. And don't get me wrong, I own and like and use ACOGs. But I already had a couple, and I was like, man, I don't really want to build a gun with another ACOG. So I was kind of glad later on when I found out that there was some other optics that I could choose. Also around this time frame, mid-length was kind of becoming a thing, more of a popular thing. Mid-length's been around for quite a while, but not a lot of places used it. Starting around 2010, it was starting to become more and more prevalent and more popular. So I wanted to build a gun that had the mid-length barrel. It's another thing that's not really clone correct about this gun. But I figured, the gas block was underneath this rail completely, so you couldn't really tell. And so I used the Daniel Defense mid-length chrome-lined hammer forged barrel that has their gas block pinned to it. Of course, there's the Knights Armament M4QD flash hider. It's pinned and welded. We have the brown Knights Armament or FDE Knights Armament flip-up front sight. Back then in the early, or not early, the 2010 time frame, these were not a commercially available item from Knights. It was kind of just a military-only thing. So I was really kind of lucky that I was able to get one for this gun. Now they're a little bit more common to get, so it's not as cool to see it. But back then, you didn't see them around as much. With that said, let's see if you can take a look at this. The rear sight is also a Knights Armament 600 meter big wheel sight, but it's anodized brown, or finished in brown, or flat dark earth, or I guess Knights Armament would call it taupe. Now, I have no idea how many of these Knights Armament made, but I have never seen too many of them out there. I can't say this is the only one that I've seen, but like in all these years, I've maybe only seen them around once or twice elsewhere online with other people having them on their guns. So that was a pretty rare item. LMT Gen 1 SOT mod stock, QDN plate. We've got, this is just a BCM charging handle that's on here. I'm sure I just had that extra. QDN plate. This is the Daniel Defense QD attachment here. This is a G2 Gear sling. G2 Gear is a local company. I always like to try and carry some local company stuff, and G2 Gear is one of them. I see their slings out at the matches pretty frequently. I use them pretty regularly as well. They've been great. They're small, they're light, they're thin, and you know, kind of an interesting thing. I really don't know how it works, but the adjustment point kind of always stays pretty close to your hand. It's not like some slings where you got to reach way behind you and then pull it. I don't really know how they do it, but the adjustment point never really moves a lot on this sling, so that was pretty cool. This is an old Insight, I think it's called the M4A1, something like that. It was the Rifle Light package that I got, and yeah, they stink pretty bad. They're just not very bright at all. Lights have just come so far since when these were out, but it's appropriate for the gun, so I do keep it on there. Just a standard ambi safety. All the other controls are pretty plain. Magpul MEAD grip with the small configuration. That's kind of what I like the best. Magpul trigger guard. Oh, these mags. LaRue sold these on their website for a while. I don't know how long, but they were just kind of brown anodized mags. Yeah, the mag has a date code of 07, so that's probably around the time frame that these were from. But I got a handful of these, and because it matches the gun, I usually use these with this gun. Now the Elcan is a pretty cool story. This is a Mill Elcan SU-230 marked with the Mill reticle, etc. I got this from a friend, and man, I traded into it for a steel. Now I tell everybody the same thing. I'm super happy to have an Elcan like this, just because I like clones. And one like this isn't the easiest kind to come by. It's not like they're impossible to find, but you know, they're not something that you just find on everybody's website. And the fact that I got it for a really good deal also really helped. Now the truth is, when I use these Elcans at the matches or classes, I got to be honest with you, I don't really like them that much. They're not bad, but they are far from my favorite. The eye relief is really, really tight, and honestly, it would be better if I probably took this backup iron sight off and moved this back. As it is, I usually shoot the stock all the way open. When I'm using this, I usually have to kind of choke it up, probably 2 or 3 positions, which I don't really prefer to do, but I kind of have to do it when using this sight. It also, these kind of were plagued a little bit with a shift. When you went from 4x to 1x, there could be a 0 shift. I'm pretty sure mine had that issue. Honestly, I zeroed it well at 4 power. So when I need more precise shots, when I am shooting at distance, I know the 0's on, but when I'm at 1 power, there could be a shift in there. I haven't tested it in a while, but the last time I did test it, it had that. So, man, that's really it about the gun. Oh, one other kind of cool thing. The trigger that's in here, it's a Geissele S3G, which, you know, the single stage type triggers are not really my favorite, but, man, I wonder if you can see that. This was a Geissele trigger. It's got Steve Fisher's name on it, so I'm sure I got it from him. Thank you, Steve. I'm not sure why it has his name on it, but he gave that to me at some point, I'm sure when he was at Magpul Dynamics. But in any case, and also the new, I just recently got this, the emissary mount for the Nano tool. Man, the Nano tools are great. They're having an optic that works or I'm sorry, having a tool that works on so many things for your gun is pretty cool. It's not like some super feat of engineering to have this, to have made this tool, but it was a super genius idea because it's tiny, and then having these mount keeps it on the gun. So when you're downrange and you got to zero your optic, you don't have to wait to go back up in your toolbox or in your range bag. You've got these tools. The idea is to have them on you all the time. So I thought that was a pretty cool addition as well. That's all I got for you today. Again, it's Neil from 2af.com. Go by the website, check it out. I think we have some of these rails. I think we have an upper like this that's available, not with this brown color, but using a Colt 6920 upper with a Daniel Defense Riz 2. Head on over to 2af.com and check them out. While you are there, it'll probably prompt you to see if you want to sign up for emails. The answer is yes, you do. That is really the best way to keep tabs on what's going out of the warehouse, what's coming into the warehouse, what's going on around the warehouse. And that's all I got for you. If I can help with anything, just let me know. Again, it's Neil at 2af.com. You can text 904-593-6922. You can call that number as well, or just contact me on any of these social media platforms. I'm happy to help. Thanks, guys.